Hey friends, in this video we're going to have a look at parent company guarantees. We will look at what it is, what are the main provisions, and how are they different to bonds. So a parent company guarantee, PCG, is a form of security that may be required by a client to protect them in the event of a default on a contract by a contractor, and that contract that is controlled by a parent company or holding company. And when we say default, we normally mean insolvency or breach of contract caused by the contractor. Let us actually break down the term parent company guarantee so that you understand completely. So a parent company is a company that controls another subsidiary company, and subsidiaries can be created by acquisition or by spin-off from the parent company. I'll give you an example in a minute. A guarantee is a contractual arrangement that creates a secondary obligation to ensure fulfillment of a primary obligation. So when we put them together, and in its purest sense, a PCG, parent company guarantee, is a contractual promise to ensure that the guaranteed party performs their obligations under a contract. You guys are with me, right? So parent company guarantees are often used in relation to construction projects to bolster the financial reliability of a building contractor. With contractor insolvencies continuing to make the headlines, and reports from KPMG, one of the big 4 accounting firms in the world, that construction industry insolvencies are rising at a quicker rate than any other industry. It seems a good time to question the value that PCGs can bring to the project and look more closely at the protections they can offer. And this is exactly what we are going to look over at the next few videos. So, as promised, let's have a look at some examples of a parent company and their subsidiaries in the real world. And this really helped me to understand much better. So I want you to know that you can understand this completely and wholly. So number 1, Procter & Gamble. And you may have heard of them. Your house is clean thanks to the magic of Procter & Gamble. The company has been building its brand for well over a century with no plans of slowing down. So go down any aisle at your local supermarket or grocery or drugstore, and you'll find any number of their products, including paper towels, hair care, laundry detergents. And the multi-billion-dollar company has operations in over 180 countries and features 80 unique brands that are well loved by consumers. Their cleaning products are in our kitchens and bathroom cabinets in almost every house around the world. So some notable Procter & Gamble subsidiaries, and this is where you're going to hear of a lot of them: Always, Bounty, Charmin, Crest, Dawn, Downy, Febreze, Gillette, Head & Shoulders, Olay, Oral-B, Pampers, Pantene, Tide, Vicks. Who's heard of some of these? I know I have. Number 2, we've got PepsiCo. And do you have the munchies? Just turn to PepsiCo to satisfy your cravings. So this enormous company has a variety of popular beverages and snacks. And an interesting fact is that 7.03 million Americans consumed 8 or more bags of Cheetos in 2017 alone. That's crazy. From sports games and concession stands to tailgates and company parties, we're able to stay nice and fed thanks to PepsiCo's products. So some of PepsiCo's subsidiaries include Mountain Dew, Gatorade, Tropicana, 7-Up, Doritos, Lipkin Teas, Cheetos, Ruffles, Aquafina. And who's heard of some of these? I know I have. So anyways, back to parent company guarantees. Parent company guarantees can be particularly useful where a small contractor is part of a large, financially stable group of companies. And the guarantee is given by the parent company to the client. And in the event that the contractor defaults on their obligations, the parent company is required to remedy the breach, meeting all the contractor's obligations under the contract. And that could include covering loss and expenses incurred by the client. Think about Batman and Robin. If Batman got into a fight with the Joker and was losing, Robin would step in and help Batman to defeat the Joker. Okay, so not exactly parent and child relationship, but you get what I mean. Parent companies are like the bigger, stronger, older partner who steps in to help out if something goes wrong. And there are 2 big benefits of this. Number 1, a continuing obligation to complete the project. And number 2, liability for latent defects for up to 12 years following completion. And if you did not know what latent defects are, they're defects caused by failures in design, workmanship, or materials that may not become apparent or readily detectable until many years after completion of the project. On the flip side, patent defects are easy to spot straight away. But something to note and some good advice is that there is some risk to guarantees depending on the financial state of the parent company. For example, if the contractor is unable to perform their obligations because the entire group has become insolvent, And another good tip to know is that there is no industry standard form for parent company guarantees. So the parties should take care to ensure that the wording adopted properly reflects their specific requirements. Parent companies should ensure that they have the same rights, obligations, and limitations under the guarantee as the contractor has under the main contract. Quantity surveyors, you guys should be fully aware of this so you can make proper checks. And to help quantity surveyors out, here are 6 points that should help you make the guarantee clearer so that there are no conflicts, or even much less conflicts. Number 1, have clarity on the precise nature of the guarantee. Number 2, have clarity whether there is a cap. Number 3, have clarity on the conditions which a claim can be made. Number 4, have clarity to what extent the main contract can be varied without affecting the guarantee. Number 5, whether and under what circumstances it can be assigned to a third party. And finally, number 6, the requirement for the provision of notices. This will and should all be detailed in the PCG contract. And parent company guarantees may also be required by contractors from the parent companies of subcontractors, not just the client side. So parent company guarantees can work both ways. So both contractor QSs and private QSs should know this information well. All right, excellent stuff. Now we know what a PCG is. Why might a PCG be required? So number 1, an employer that is concerned about a contractor's financial viability may require a PCG as assurance that the contractor has the financial backing of the potentially or considerably larger group of companies. And going back to the example of Procter & Gamble, if we went into contract with Head & Shoulders, we would have the financial backing of Procter & Gamble. And this is the power of the PCG. And another reason why a PCG might be required is where the contractor is a new company whose financial viability has not been tested, or where there are concerns as to its solvency. Another reason is where the contractor does not have the sufficient assets for the employer to feel secure that if the contractor breaches the contract, they will be able to meet any damages to which the employer could be entitled. And in order to assess the actual value of a PCG, it is good practice to investigate the financial position of the parent company also. That's a very key point. This is also very important and would be one of the checks that you make with an accountant prior to the contract being issued, or ideally before you send any tender documents. It may be that upon investigation, it transpires that the parent company is no more financially viable as a commercial entity than its subsidiary. And going back to the Procter & Gamble example, let's say that you went into contract with Head & Shoulders to find out later that its parent company, Procter & Gamble, were not much better off and they were in financial difficulty themselves. Then you would be in trouble. And that is where the pre-contract checks are so important. And this is bad news and has happened many times in the construction industry. Okay, amazing. And that wraps up the video on parent company guarantees. We saw that a parent company guarantee is a form of security that may be required by a client to protect them in the event of a default on the contract by the contractor. We then had a look at Procter & Gamble as an example and all their subsidiary companies such as Febreze, Gillette, Head & Shoulders, and Oral-B, etc. We then reviewed that a PCG is required in the event that the contractor defaults on their obligations and that the parent company is required to remedy the breach if this happens. And also, the 2 other big benefits to this were a continuing obligation to complete the project and liability for latent defects up to 12 years following completion. You would also require a PCG where the employer is concerned about the contractor's financial viability, where the contractor is a new company, or if there are concerns to solvency. This is truly amazing information to know. I hope it was useful to you and will serve you on your way to becoming a construction master. If you have any questions, drop me a direct message. My email address is hilan@constructionmastery.com and feel free to contact me there. See you guys soon.